Welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies, and we'll put Panzer III versus T-34 on pause for now, so I can share with you a look at something that I haven't really seen anyone try a build for yet. And yes, I'm actually pretty uninformed when it comes to other people's builds. I've gotten a lot of comments from the Redditors on, hey, didn't so-and-so already make this build? And probably. I haven't honestly been watching a ton of other people's videos on Pathfinder. I've just been making my own. So, let's get into it. We jumped back into our Laura file here to build a couple of mercenaries. Now, you build your character once, but you can build any number of mercenaries, limited only by the depth of your pockets, how much gold you have. And obviously, I'm here in a game that has been edited by the save file editor. There's a really good quality program out there. You can search really quickly on Google for, and you should find it right away. But let's get into Rex and Romulus. So, we'll start with Romulus. He's the more interesting build, in my opinion. Two-handed fighter, 15 levels, and thug, 5 levels. And I recommend, thug, by the way, that is a rogue archetype. So I recommend that you pick up a few fighter levels and then pick up one thug level, and then a few more fighter levels, and then another thug level. And why is that? It's because of your skills. You can see where we've put our skill points here into athletics, persuasion, perception, and use magic device. And really, the only skill that actually matters for this character is persuasion, because we have picked up Cornigon Smash with this character. And prepare yourselves, because between these two characters, there is a cornucopia of status problems we can apply to the enemy, and a plethora of attack opportunities to build our already vast damage potential. Dealing 35 to 41 with a Masterwork Falchion, that's pretty awesome. 44 to 50 with this ordinary Falchion is pretty insane. And then also we have sneak attack damage to add on to that with this character, Romulus. So let's get right in to his abilities, the feats that we've selected. So you can see the first page here, and pause if you want to go over these individually, and we'll talk about a few of these in a minute. And then here's the second page. Notice where we're going here. Okay. And the third page. Is there more? A little bit. Here's the fourth page. Okay, let's get into it. So, as a fighter, obviously, we get a bunch of proficiencies and such. Let's talk about stats, actually. Sorry, I should have gone over that at first. We started with a bonus to our strength. As a half-elf, we chose strength. And we started with a 19, and then these stats are exactly as you see from character generation. We wisdom and charisma dump statted hard, so we drained those all the way down to 7 so that we could modify our other stats. That's especially important for a mercenary because you only start with a 20-point stat buy as opposed to the 25 that you receive when creating a new character. And I feel like these two characters work very well as mercenaries. So, what did we do? We picked up Trip, which you need to pick up combat expertise first to grab that one. We have power attack. We do not have cleave on this character. And you say, Tochio, you're really shooting yourself in the foot by not picking up cleave, because you can get so many more attacks. That's okay. We picked up all of the cleave feats on this character, so he's the one with the better cleavage, and this one is more of the sneaky stab kind of variety. So, clean your mind. Anyway, what else did we pick up? Weapon focus. I'm not sure if we picked up weapon specialization for Romulus, but we definitely did all of the weapon focus and weapon specialization feats for Rex over here. So what makes this character stand out? One, he has the sneak attack damage, as well as the brutal beating class feature that he picked up from level 3 of Thug, and you can get rid of 1d6 of your sneak attack damage to make the target sickened for a few rounds, and that's useful. Also, what else should I mention with this character? If you really go over the feats, you see what the heart of this guy is. Let's just look at the abilities they're actively using in combat real quick before I talk about feats in specific. So, there is a chain of feats you can pick up after critical focus, and or sorry, not critical focus, improved critical focus. Sorry, I get confused sometimes. So critical focus itself is kind of a fairly useless feat because it gives you a +4 to confirm critical hits, which, you know, that's kind of okay, but I mean, we're looking at a +26 to our attack right now, so we don't really need that. Why is it only a +26? I guess because they're not buffed at all. With a few spells buffing them up, we can boost that over 30 fairly quickly. Meanwhile, Laura sits with a base +19. So, again, spellcasters can still be just fine at the melee combat, especially after a few buffs. But here we are, base 25 with a 26 because he's using a masterwork weapon. And let's start talking about feat selection. Once more, this is obviously a 2-weapon fighter, so we don't need to worry about any of the shield feats, and we focused a lot on teamwork feats. We also picked up Fury's Fall to add a few points to our combat maneuver bonus on Trip, which will add our dex. It's +3 now, but it'll bump up to a +6 with the right gear. We got Weapon Finesse for free for picking up a level in Rogue, so that's really a useless feat for us. But Blinding Critical, Tiring Critical, leading to Exhausting Critical, and Critical Mastery feat. So these are all coming from the Critical Focus feat progression, and they require fairly hefty levels in Fighter. But Blinding Critical is, as the name of the feat states, you can pause here to read the description on that one, very useful to permanently blind your enemy with a single attack, or sorry, with a critical hit. And again, because we're using a Falchion with critical focus, that's 15 to 20 will give us a critical hit, and with the number of attacks we should be getting, it's going to happen fairly frequently, along with a hefty amount of damage. Exhausting Critical, same deal, very useful, and there's no save on this one, so anyone who's not basically undead or in other way immune to exhaustion is going to take a -6 to their strength and dexterity, which is a serious wet blanket on any enemy character. What else do we have? We talked about Cornagon Smash. We also picked up Accomplished Sneak Attacker to keep that sneak attack progression going just a little bit. Tandem Trip is one of our teamwork feats. As the description, again, you can pause here if you need to get the description on that specifically. Helps us out with our trip attempts when we're targeting the same person between the two of these guys, because they both have that teamwork feat. And I went out of my way to make sure that the two of these guys share their teamwork feats. There's no purpose in taking a teamwork feat if you don't share it with someone. It's all about sharing is caring. And kind of the joke I made with myself is that these two are called the twins, even though one of them's a half-elf and the other one is a full-blood human. And Romulus and Rex, where you would expect the pairing of Romulus and Remus. And it's just a little joke I have with myself. I kind of enjoy that. Skill Focus we got as a racial feat for being a half-elf. We put that on persuasion so we can have, even though we used charisma as a dump stat, we have a fairly decent persuasion score to the point that we should be able to succeed on all of our intimidate checks, especially because of another feat I'll talk about in a minute. Coordinated maneuvers is an extremely useful feat. Gives you +2 on all of your combat maneuvers, but there's an even better one, and that is outflank. Check this one out. You get a +4 when you're flanking along with someone who has this feat, and whenever you critically hit, you get to make an attack of opportunity, or your ally gets to make an attack of opportunity. So these two guys are just going to be like, the two guys in the club in that SNL skit where they're just like knocking somebody back and forth between the two of them. That's what these two guys do, only they're doing it with a very large, sharp, curved blade. It's supposed to be more curved than that, I think. Anyway, and they're just hacking away at people. What else did we pick up? Blinding critical, tiring critical, critical mastery, exhausting critical. We also have, I'm not sure if it shows up here, because again, the feats are a little bit bugged. Like here, feat. Okay, what feat is this? We already talked about combat reflexes, right? Did I talk about that yet? We picked up combat reflexes, which gives us our dex bonus of additional attacks of opportunity per round. So instead of just getting 1 attack of opportunity, we get 4 right now, and again, that can bump up to 5, 6, 7, depending upon buffs and gear that you have equipped to your character. So that dex score, even though we may be wearing heavy armor and not getting a lot of armor class out of it, is useful for a whole lot more than just that. Now, if we look at Rex, this is the necessary counterpart to Romulus, our half-elven twin. And if you look at his skills, they're kind of garbage, but we put points into perception and stealth, of all things, just because it's useful to have somebody in your party with a stealth skill when you're camping, and also just sort of for flavor. As you can see, this guy's picture is, he's looking kind of shady here, and there's just a pile of bodies behind him, and a few guys who like just realized that they done messed up and they're gonna fight for their lives, even though like these 6 or 7 guys probably all died in one round, because Rex, if we get into his abilities, has all the cleave. So that would be power attack, cleave, great cleave, cleaving finish, and improved cleaving finish. It's a big feat progression, and it's really only there so I can get improved cleaving finish, which is just fantastic. You can hack your way through an entire group of people with 1 attack. So, what else did we pick up? The pile driver is a class feature from being, I think it's level 15 of two-handed fighter. And notice here we went for all 20 levels of two-handed fighter with this guy, and we're at a +27 to our attack. And we only went for 15 levels of two-handed fighter and then 5 of thug, and we're still at a +26 to our attack with Romulus over here. So don't feel like you have to take all your levels in fighter to have the best attack. It's pretty useful, but it's not essential. I mean, a few points here or there you can easily make up for with some of the features that you can pick up by being a rogue. However, I also like that this guy has better stealth than this guy, right? Doesn't he? Yeah. This guy has no stealth, even though he has 5 levels in rogue, and this guy is a full fighter, and he has much more stealth. Anyway, moving on. What makes this guy stand out? He has the same teamwork feats that we already went over with Romulus, but what does he have? He has weapon focus and weapon specialization, so all of those feats. And if you're wondering what order to take these, it's pretty much whatever order you want. But if you're playing through the game, you might start with Cleave because it's very powerful, and then pick up Combat Expertise and Trip and Critical Focus along the way. Blinding Critical and Staggering Critical, These are things that you can only pick up with a certain number of fighter levels, if I'm not mistaken. So it doesn't say what the requirements are there. So there's that. But notice we picked up staggering critical with Rex, so that when he critically hits, he can add the staggered condition and another attack with the blinding critical, just in case the enemy made his save on the first blinding critical attack. And there's also something I should describe real quickly about these critical feats. If you read the description, he said that you can only have the effects of one critical feat, staggering, blinding, sickening, whatever. You can only have one unless you have the critical mastery feat. So keep that in mind. We have 5 levels of strong grip, which really helps us out on some maneuvers we'll probably never use. Outflank, again, the same teamwork feats as we had for Romulus. Trip, tandem trip, coordinate maneuvers, Fury's Fall. So really the only difference between these two is some of the specific critical feats that they picked up. This guy deals a little bit more base damage, and then Romulus deals some sneak attack damage. And of course, because we're going to constantly have the 2 of these guys targeting the same person, beside the fact that they're going to shred them to pieces, and if we decide to use trip, it will almost be a guaranteed trip. It should be quite effective. So let's actually have some fun now just using trip with these 2. And we're going to do that by casting a few spells. So first, let's cast... Do we want to make him a wyvern? Let's turn both of these guys into dragons. Just because we can. And see what we get out of that. So silver dragon and gold dragon. Yeah, congratulations, you two. Notice how a silver dragon looks exactly the same as a gold dragon in the game right now. I'd like to see that changed to where they actually have some color and they're not just a generic sort of blue dragon looking fella. But let's get these 2. Obviously, they're not going to have the best attack and damage because they're not using their favorite weapon. But let's tell them to trip people. And let's tell you to trip people. And let's just see what kind of rolls we can get on our trip checks. These guys are so cool. Okay, here's a troll. Let's see if we can trip him. Well, their initiative is not the best, by the way. Missed with the trip attack. There we go. Okay, we got a trip. Attempts to trip maneuver with a 36 modifier. So he rolled a 17 and he got a plus 36. He basically couldn't fail that trip attack if he managed to hit. So that's pretty cool. Let's get these 2 back to their natural form and turn off trip just so we can see what kind of damage we deal when we're power attacking. Let's have you not attack, because you would probably kill everyone. So here we go, back to natural form, have them both attack, and we'll see what kind of damage they deal. That seems kind of awesome. Okay, those are some great numbers, and you see that one of them critically hits, the other one gets a free attack, and that is just incredible. So you're seeing the numbers here. Those are some pretty dang good numbers. And this troll is actually really useful for showing off the amount of damage potential you have for a character. So I'll keep that in mind. Anyway, this has been a look at a couple of wild and crazy guys. And one thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that their defensive abilities are kind of garbage. And I'm okay with that, because there's a spell called Improved Invisibility that I could cast on both of these guys. That gives the enemy a base 50% miss chance, and also they don't notice them until our fighters are right on top of them. And then these guys will just start cutting through everything, especially Rex over here, because he has all of the cleave feats. So he's just going to be constantly doing these huge cleave attacks on people, causing some serious carnage, mayhem, misery, and woe. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. It's been a look at something that I haven't seen a whole lot of people doing, a couple of mercenary builds, showing off how you can build a pure fighter that plays very nicely with a cross-class fighter rogue. It's pretty easy to get 5 levels to play with out of a fighter class because their level 15 abilities are pretty good, and their level 20 abilities are not essential. But we could try this here, devastating blow. So let's see if we can insta kill this troll real quick. Devastating blow, and what did that accomplish for us? Okay. Fortitude save. Not sure. Okay, he used the ability and then he missed. He rolled a natural 1. What an itchiest putman. Okay, well, that happens every now and then, and that's another reason that Devastating Blow is not necessarily the most powerful weapon in your repertoire. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that one. You do have several options with this character concept, especially things like Pile Driver Trip, which is a 2-handed weapon fighter. You guys are wielding invisible swords. Why are you suddenly unarmed? You're not. And you're not. Okay, well, you know, this game is still a work in progress, apparently. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you in the next video. Jeez, that's a lot of damage. Bye-bye.